Did they make any mistakes back then?
Oh, talking about my artist?
Talking about Baby and Slim. When now, if you were Lil Wayne's manager, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you were Lil, did you see any missteps now that you look back?
You know what I be telling my dude? I be like, man, now that I'm in charge of the things I'm in charge of, I kind of look at it like it was impossible to do what they did for just two guys. You know what I mean? Like, man, I deal with, I be about to bite somebody's head off behind a hotel room.
Nah, I'm done rapping.
Ain't no version on that?
Nah, I ain't doing none of that. I'm done with it. I still get more money than rappers. No disrespect. I make rappers.
Yeah.
And we get money together. I say that humbly. We make money together. But I'm done with rapping. Ain't no need for me rapping.
Mannie Fresh is finally opening up about how much he says he lost at Cash Money Records. And once you see the math laid out against what he was actually being paid, you'll understand why this story has taken decades to fully come out. For over a decade, Mannie Fresh was the heartbeat of Cash Money. Every beat, every hit single, every platinum plaque that put that label on the map, that was his work, his craft, his genius poured into a machine that made other people extraordinarily rich. And according to what Mannie has said in interviews over the years, he was doing all of that while allegedly never seeing anything close to his fair share of what it generated. Here's the number that makes this hit different. Juvenile's 400 Degrees alone sold 5 million copies. At a late 90s wholesale price of roughly $12 a unit, that's about $60 million in wholesale revenue from one album. A producer entitled to even a standard 2% royalty on that record alone would be looking at over $1 million just from that project. Before publishing, radio performance royalties, or sync licensing ever entered the picture. Mannie has said he was clearing around $50,000 per beat during Cash Money's peak years. Multiply his actual production output across 15 gold and platinum albums, 17 RIA-certified singles, and 23 million total units sold. And you start to see the size of the gap between what those records generated and what he's described actually receiving. So how did we get here? Byron Thomas, born in New Orleans' 7th Ward in 1969, grew up literally raised on music. His father was local DJ legend DJ Sabu, and by his teens, Byron was DJing school dances under the name Mannie Fresh, running his own drum machine live over the records he spun, rather than just playing them straight. He came up through one of the city's earliest hip-hop crews alongside future No Limit star Mia X, describing that period later as a kind of training camp where he absorbed every technique he could get access to. By the late 80s, he'd partnered with rapper Gregory D and cut records at the legendary C. Saint Studios. And after a bruising, disillusioning stint on a major label with RCA in the early 90s, where he watched a big corporation handle street music slowly and without any real urgency, he was ready for something completely different. That arrived in 1993, when brothers Brian Baby Williams and Ronald Slim Williams brought him in as the in-house producer for a scrappy independent label they'd started 2 years earlier called Cash Money Records. Mannie became the entire sound of that label. Every release throughout the 90s, Pimp Daddy, UNLV, Miss T, Lil Slim, ran through his boards, blending New Orleans bounce and jazz drum patterns into something nobody else on earth was making. By the mid-90s, the roster expanded to include a 12-year-old named Dwayne Carter, who'd become Lil Wayne, plus BG, Juvenile, and Turk, grouped together in 1997 as the Hot Boys. Juvenile's independently released Soldier Rags moved 200,000 copies with zero national distribution, catching Universal Records' attention and giving the Williams brothers enough leverage to negotiate what's still considered one of the most favorable independent label deals in music history. $30 million from Universal in 1998, with Cash Money keeping 85% of royalties, full ownership of their masters, and Universal taking just a 7% distribution cut. Hip-hop journalists nicknamed it the Louisiana Purchase, and the results proved the Williams brothers right almost immediately. Juvenile's 400 Degrees, produced entirely by Mannie, went 5 times platinum and landed on Rolling Stone's Greatest Albums list, with Back That Ass Up landing on their Greatest Songs list too. Between 1998 and 2003, Cash Money released nearly 24 top 5 singles and platinum albums. Virtually all of it built on Mannie's production, generating more than 23 million units sold worldwide off his work alone. But underneath the matching Bentleys and the stacked jewelry in every video, There was reportedly no real financial transparency for the person creating almost all of the actual product. Mannie has described the arrangement less like a formal business and more like a group of street dudes who decided to try the music business. He came in with a brotherhood mentality, not a lawyer's mentality, and he trusted that the people benefiting most from his work would recognize what he was owed. He said he was clearing around $50,000 or more per beat during Cash Money's peak years, a number that sounds significant on its own until you weigh it against the hundreds of millions of dollars those same beats were generating for the label simultaneously. That trust is central to understanding everything that came after, because Mannie wasn't the only Cash Money artist to eventually come forward with the same complaint. Juvenile left in 2001 over money, sued when the label wouldn't settle for $4 million, and reportedly walked away with around $11 million instead, before returning in 2003 on a new deal. BG left citing financial mismanagement and never returned. Producer Bangladesh, who made Lil Wayne's A Milli, sued the label in 2010 and told Vibe magazine directly that Cash Money doesn't pay royalties. Turk sued for $10 million after signing his original deal at 17 with a lawyer who also represented Cash Money, a textbook conflict of interest. Even Wendy Day, the industry veteran who personally negotiated the historic Universal deal on the label's behalf and helped make the Williams brothers rich in the first place, has alleged that when she tried to collect her standard 5% finder's fee, Birdman's response was essentially to tell her to sue him. Different artists, different years, same basic pattern every single time. The money came in, and the accounting that was supposed to flow back to the people who actually built the product somehow got stuck along the way. For Mannie, that reached a breaking point around 2004. He'd already proven he could stand on his own with his solo debut that year, and in 2005, he officially left Cash Money. When asked why, he didn't dress it up. He said it plainly. Scratch, Moolah, the man who produced 400 Degrees, Back That Ass Up, Bling Bling, and nearly every hit the label had, left because the money wasn't right. In June 2006, Cash Money and Mannie reached a settlement, terms undisclosed, sealed to this day, standard confidentiality clause. He's never publicly attached a specific dollar figure to what he says he lost, but he's been consistent that he was dramatically underpaid relative to what his work generated. What makes this story more than a simple villain and victim narrative is what happened afterward. Birdman has never publicly disrespected Mannie. In a 2018 Billboard interview, he spoke about their bond deepening through shared tragedy. Both men lost a sister within a few years of each other. Mannie's sister Angela murdered in 2007. That same year, Mannie himself put together their Big Timers reunion, and their 2018 comeback single, Designer Caskets, shot through the streets of New Orleans with cameos from Juvenile and Turk, sounded exactly like Coming Home. In 2020 on The Breakfast Club, Mannie summed up how he'd made peace with it. You live, you forgive, and you keep it moving. Forgiveness and justice aren't the same thing, but for Mannie, peace came first. He rebuilt from there with real dignity, a Def Jam South deal, his own Chubby Boy Records imprint, production work for T.I., Young Jeezy, Drake, and Kanye's Cruel Summer, and in April 2023, Reservoir Media acquired his entire publishing and recorded music catalog outright. As close to an official industry appraisal of his legacy as anything ever put on paper. Meanwhile, the financial disputes never stopped trailing Cash Money itself. Lil Wayne filed a $51 million lawsuit against the label in 2014 over unpaid advances, settled in 2018 on terms that, in keeping with Cash Money tradition, were never disclosed. At the center of all of it is a simple, uncomfortable question hip-hop will keep debating. Was this intentional exploitation, or the inevitable outcome of a business built entirely on trust and handshake deals that was never designed to fairly account for the person actually creating the product? Mannie has never called it theft outright. But his music is still being sampled by Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and Youngboy Never Broke Again right now, still generating money, still sitting on greatest of all time lists, while the man who made nearly all of it spent years fighting just to get properly recognized for what he built. You can't unmake 400 Degrees. You can't uninvent Back That Ass Up. The sound is permanent, whether or not the accounting behind it ever fully was. What do you think really happened here? Genuine betrayal? Or just an industry structure that was never built to protect the people who make the music? Let me know in the comments, and check out the video on screen for more deep dives into the stories that built Southern hip-hop.